Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. It's been a long summer. We've already released a fantastic video about the AFC North preseason, previewing all things to do with my Pittsburgh Steelers as well as the rest of the AFC North teams. You know, for me, there's only one team in the AFC North. But we move on. We're on to a new division this time, and it is the NFC North. And luckily for us, we do have a fan of this division with a Green Bay Packer, but we have in Adam. Andrew, welcome back as well for you to hopefully critique the Packers and maybe poke some fun, maybe prod him a little bit. You were both very gentle, to be fair, for the Steelers in the AFC North episode. So I think it's only good in return that we're gentle with Adam. Is that right, Andrew?
That
didn't sound convincing. That did not sound convincing.
I think that Adam will probably be the least optimistic of all of us about his own team.
What are you saying about me?
Well, we'll start off this episode with not the Green Bay Packers. We'll look to another all these places are pretty chilly. It's the North, but Chicago plays very close to my heart in the Chicago Bears. Went 11-6 last year, first place in the NFC North, qualifying for the postseason. Beat the Green Bay Packers 31-27 in the wild card, but were eliminated to the LA Rams 20-17 in the divisional round. Caleb Williams, fantastic season. Ben Johnson in his debut season last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, debut season, having a fantastic time of it, and we all knew that he was going to do pretty good. A few faces have left there, notably veteran wide receiver DJ Moore, who got traded to the Buffalo Bills pretty early in the trade market, from what I remember. I remember that happening quite soon as the D-Day clock struck 1 for trades and for agency to sort of kick in and get us all invigorated through the month of March. They also traded in Garrett Bradbury from the New England Patriots, the offensive lineman. A decent draft as well. Dylan Thieneman for the safety from Oregon. They also got Logan Jones, the center out of Iowa, in round 2. It was some decent players. Got picks in most rounds outside of the 7th in the end, but it was so long ago. They probably had one. They moved in, they moved out, etc. But a lot of positive things, Andrew, last season for Chicago Bears. We figured that may happen. We knew it was going to look a little bit different with a new head coach in town, and it sort of lived up to the hype. They were a very fun team to watch, and they looked dynamic. They looked like they know where they're going. I wouldn't say they've arrived, but they're on the right train, going up the right track. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson's done a great job. I think Ryan Poles has done an absolutely fantastic job. I think there was a lot of question marks about some of the decisions he made when he first got there, but everything he seems to have done since then has turned to gold in terms of moves he's made. I think he's done a really, really good job, really stabilized an organization that was going in the wrong direction. So, it's all looking good for them. And as you said, they're on the right tracks. They got the new offensive genius. The offense hasn't overly changed too much from last year, bar losing DJ Moore. So that's a good. So they can stick together. They can progress together. They can build on Caleb Williams moving forward. Their problem last year was their defense. And I think they went hard on that in terms of bringing in some players and some draft. They brought in some good names on that side of the ball. So all the moves for me point in the right direction for more success for the Bears, which as Bears fans have got to be really pleased at, because they've had a few years of being on every year you do a preview for them, people saying Bears are going to be good this year, and then they're not. And then last year was finally their time to do that. And I think they're going to kick on and continue to improve this year as well.
I mean, you're not wrong in terms of a couple of stats. Didn't really talk about stats in the AFC North. We sort of fired that, but I've got a few here. I mean, they're ranked 23rd in points allowed on defense, 29th in net yards allowed, 22nd in passing yards, 27th in rushing yards. Did rank amongst first in interceptions, in generating interceptions. They were very, very good at that. But they have gone away this offseason, Adam, and as Andrew reiterated, they've brought in some more pieces, haven't they? And that was sort of like what we said about last offseason for Chicago, was They're just sort of getting the pieces together. They're getting the right guys in. You know, the defense has been a bit of a problem. They brought in Kobe Bryant. They've drafted Dylan Thieneman, who was seen as the best safety, if not the second best safety in this draft, and probably in amongst the top 5 to 10 DBs, including corners and of the like. They've been a success, right? I mean, they've had a good draft. I thought.
Yeah, I think they've done reasonably well from it. It doesn't look too bad. That, like you say, a lot of guys have come in on the defense, which is what was needed. I think that was definitely the area that that they sort of struggled a little bit with last year, and I think that it's going to be. I still feel like I think Dylan Thieneman will be good. I think the fact they brought in Devin Bush is not a bad guy to bring in at all. I'm not really sure about the rest of them that they've brought in. I don't really feel like they're going to do too much for them from the defensive point of view. The offense, I mean, Garrett Bradbury obviously he wasn't bad. He was all right, but he is a drop down from Drew Dowman, who's retired, and at centre, like I say, it's a concern because obviously that's the sort of the vocal point of the O-line. So I mean, but Bradbury has done well he did well for the Patriots, so I think they'll be all right with that. They've got Adunze and Burden as their wide receivers, but obviously not DJ Moore anymore. I think that's a little bit of a drop down as well, because I feel like Khalif Raymond isn't DJ Moore. I know the theory is that Burden will step up, which is fine, but it just kind of it is a bit of a step down. One thing I did see was that they won 7 games last year in the last 2 minutes of the games, and I just feel like you can't keep doing that. That's something that might come back and bite them a little bit. Schedule's a little bit harder this year than what it was last, so I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to have a winning record, but I do wonder if they might drop off a little bit compared to last year, just purely because of it being a bit harder.
I think a lot of their having to win games in the last 2 minutes was down to the fact that the defense couldn't prevent the other team from scoring. You know, that they were in games, and it was that defense that was leaking all the time. So,
I think that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. When you actually look, I mean, Kobe Bryant obviously did really well at Seattle, so you would hope that would help a bit. Thieneman, you would hope would help a bit, and Bush. But when it comes to the actual D line, there's very little that's changed. So that's kind of a little bit of a concern. If they're not getting to the quarterback, does that mean that they still end up sort of giving up points? So I think that's the only thing. Really, I just think it's going to be maybe a little bit harder for them this year than what it was last year. But they're still a good team. They still do well, and they certainly have got the potential to be in the playoffs again.
You say that with DJ Moore going, it's a bit of a downgrade, but there's plenty of people before the last year were going, they've got too many mouths to feed. They've got Luther Burden, they got Rome Odunze, they got DJ Moore, they got Cole Kmet. You've got the backfield of DeAndre Swift. No one really saw Carl Manungai coming out, but he had a fantastic year last year as well and really cemented himself as RB2. He was older. He's expensive. It feels a need for Buffalo. I think it's good business myself. I
can't remember what they sold him for. What did the Bills pay for him? I can't remember what that was.
I believe it,
because I feel like it was quite low.
I have it right in my notes here, but I might not have it. I may have it. Second round pick. Yeah, second round pick, and there may be more. I'll double check on it.
Yeah, nice. So, I mean, like that's a decent amount back for a wide receiver of his age. So,
just from training camp news, obviously Xavier Thomas, the LSU wide receiver, there was a bit of hype around him being really underrated going in the draft, and apparently he's really hit it off really big time, and he's one to watch out for on this offense. He's going to be used in special teams and as that slot wide receiver. So that's the idea of replacing DJ Moore. I think you can have Odunze and Burden probably playing out wide, and then Xavier Thomas in that slot role. So that's one to note for, because I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of people that haven't heard his name, and he was really underrated going into the draft from LSU.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be awful. I just think that it's a drop off from what it was. If you're looking to win, kind of thing, this is what I mean.
I don't know. You say drop off. Colston Loveland's in year 2, and he looked great at the back end of the year. Adunze, when he was fit, was easily their wide receiver 1, and Burden, everyone thinks, is going to have the biggest year out of all the players. So I think that they were right to move on from more and focus more on these youngsters. So I think their area of concern for me is still that running back spot. I think Swift had a good year, and Manungai looks good, but it's not the strongest when you think about what Ben Johnson has always had in the past. I know this is a bit off topic, but the Falcons not getting a deal done with Bijan, do any of you feel like if there was a potential trade, if the Bears could get Bijan, it's to the moon for them?
I think a combination of that and Caleb's development. I think Caleb looked really good last year, but I think has got ways to go. Any team with Bijan Robinson on,
but with Ben Johnson, I feel like it's similar to Gibbs, that style of, it just fit.
He'd be tremendous for him. He'd be tremendous.
And I think in terms of that, I think Falcons, they're not going to win anything this year, and they can't get struggling to get a deal done. They should probably cash out on it.
If I'm Chicago, and I'm definitely knocking on that door a lot of times. But to sort of revert back to my point, Andrew, do you think Caleb's making the right steps? Can we see him like a further improvement in the 2026 season of what we've seen so far, or is the building blocks still going? Do you think?
Yeah, well, he's improving every time he steps onto the field. We saw that last year. Start of the year, he struggled a little bit, and then every game that passed was better. The completion percentage was improving slowly. That's the key for him. He's got all the athletic traits in the world, and he's 100% a great player. He just needs to improve that completion percentage for me. And with Ben Johnson, there's no reason why he can't do that. He's got all the tools now. Like, as you said, 2 good tight ends and a lot of young wide receivers that he's now grown with over the last couple of years with them. So, completion percentage needs to improve, have to improve. Everything else about his game, reading the field and everything like that, he improves every time he steps on the field. And that's only going to happen as this season goes through as well, I think.
Is that maybe a little bit why, Adam, you think about the DJ Moore aspect in that way, is that Caleb, for him to develop, may need them veteran pieces around him that have been around a while. What's Rome Dunze is year 3? Luke Burden's year 2? Komet year 2? Swift's been around a while, and Manungai's brand new. Like you've just talked about Thomas, the new wide receivers coming. Like there's not a lot of vets around him to aid that development in terms of his pieces.
I mean, Khalif Raymond is okay, but it's like it's not DJ Moore. I suppose that's more the point. I just feel like DJ Moore has still got a bit more left in him rather than what Khalif Raymond would be able to give you. And that obviously most teams, realistically, you want 3 wide receivers who you would come out and say are definite starters. That's what you want. But it feels a little bit like you've got 2 there now with Burden and Adunze, not so much with. I mean, Raymond's, like I say, he's all right. And as you say,
Colson Loveland is almost a wide
receiver.
But
I would say you want a tight end.
But Cole Komet.
I'm not overly sure they kept hold of Komet, actually, to be honest.
And they got Sam Roosh as well, didn't they? That people.
Yeah, I just think you want. I mean, realistically, you want a plethora of options, don't you? That are going to be decent, and the more you have, the better for the quarterback as well. So it does kind of. I just think that would probably would have helped him more had DJ Moore been there. That doesn't mean that he can't deal without him, because I think that he probably can, and as Andrew said, he improves all the time. He will continue to improve. I'm sure he will. So it's like he will be more than capable with what's there. It's just, it feels like everything is just, to me, ever so slightly a little bit lower than what it was last year.
Komet's still on the team, actually. I've just double checked. So, yeah, he is that option as well, who can be in the passing game as well. Let's stick with you, Adam. Let's talk about your Green Bay Packers. 9-7-1 last season. Second place, finishing the division. Did get to the postseason, like we stated earlier. Lost out to the Bears. No changes outside of Jeff Hafley going to the Miami Dolphins. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they lost a few other of the coaching staff as well, didn't you? The internal coaching staff all went with Hafley, didn't they? So there's more than just Hafley gone from that coaching staff.
Let a lot of guys go, walk out in free agency as well, notably Malik Willis going to Tennessee in the end.
No, that's where he came from.
Oh,
He's gone to Miami.
He's gone to Miami. You bought in a fair few guys as well, and you also, when you look at your draft, Brandon Cisse in the second, Chris McClellan, the defensive tackle, in the third. You only had 6 picks in the end. One of them being a kicker.
Yeah.
How was your off season? I suppose is more what I should be asking.
I think what we have ended up with going into this season is, if all of our starters are fit, we have a very, very good team. And the concern that I have is that there's very little behind it. And that's where the problem might come in. The overall thing that I sort of came out with when I knew we were doing this and had a quick look last night at things, and I just sort of came up with lacks depth. Like that's the issue with the roster. It does lack depth now. Romeo Dobbs has gone, Dontavian Wicks has gone. That's two wide receivers who are probably going to start for the teams that they've gone to in the NFL. Malik Willis and Tyrod Taylor, I kind of look at backup quarterbacks. It's not really too much of an issue. But Alton Jenkins has gone, Rasheed Walker's gone, 2 decent O-line guys that have moved on. They obviously did bring in a few people, but they didn't really bring in that many on the O-line. But we're okay on the O-line. It's not too bad. There's some guys behind there, but if this is where the problem comes in, if any of them go down, it just feels like there's not the depth there behind it. The defense, again, it's a similar thing. It's like there's a lot of good players on that defense, but there's just not a lot behind it. And so that's the overall concern. Obviously, this team is going to become a hell of a lot better when Micah Parsons comes back. That's obviously a concern because I think chances are he's probably going to miss a decent chunk of time at the beginning of the season. And it's going to be about whether or not they can sort of do reasonably well in them first, I don't know, however many weeks he's not going to play for, and then be in a position where they can do something. Because last year, that team, they were a touchdown better with him on the field. That's basically what it came down to. And I think that's kind of where we're at. So I think we're still a really good team. I think with them starters, Tucker Kraft being back, I think is great. I like Zaire Franklin coming in. I think that's a decent veteran to bring in. Javon Hargrave is all right. But yeah, overall, it's a bit like the starting team's really good. But if anyone goes down injured, I think we're in trouble, which kind of doesn't really work as a team who, the reason that they brought in Parsons was to win now. So that's the concern with it.
I thought that was relatively positive. I thought it was going to be a lot more negative, to be honest with you. I think that's fair. I mean, for someone who's, I feel like one of my sports teams has the exact same problem where it's a very good starting lineup and then lacks real depth in my football team. I get where you're coming from completely. It's like, on any day we can beat anybody, but gosh, if it's a bad day and 2 people go down, 3 people go down, and
Yeah.
there's a stomach bug that goes around, or there's food poisoning, or there's something, get struck by lightning, and then
well, we kind of saw that last year, didn't we, when they played the Broncos and they lost, and that was when Parsons went down, and it obviously, like, it's massive when you lose someone like that. It's like losing Myles Garrett. It's the same sort of thing. It's like it's huge, but I think you saw a couple of guys go down in that game, and it's just like, and it all just kind of crumbled. And I just don't feel like you can be, I don't know, I suppose I don't feel like you can be a serious Super Bowl contender if your team is built like that.
I agree.
I think that's where the problem is.
I agree. It looks like Andrew, you agree as well with that.
Yeah, I've got a worry that it's a bit boom or bust for the Packers this year. I felt like they did have that depth last year on the offense, especially. But as we've said, we're now asking a Packers team which play in the cold, which is never good for keeping players fit all year round, because you do get that there's twinges in the colder weather. We're asking Christian Watson to step up and be their wide receiver 1, who's not had a healthy full season yet. We're asking Matthew Golden to step into an X receiver role and have production, which we've not seen from him in the NFL or college yet. And then Jaden Reed, who I do like, is just of that size where I don't think he's going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. Great news that Tucker Kraft is back. I think he might be your actual number 1 wide receiver, or definitely the most consistent of this group. That's a worrying concern with me. But if Watson does play like we've seen him when he's on the field, then, touchdowns galore and yards galore, it's not a problem. My other concern is they wanted to make sure that the Josh Jacobs legal troubles were done, dusted, and completed before training camp started. I believe it's still ongoing for them. So I think, Adam, I don't know what you might be a bit closer to the ground than I am on this one. Is there still the potential that he could miss time or be banned? Or what's the census of the Packers fans that Josh Jacobs is going to play all year and not have no legal troubles?
From what I can gather, it's very unlikely that he's going to get any sort of ban. It feels very much that it's kind of just rumbling on because these things rumble on. But in reality, there's not going to be any sort of ban come his way. There's probably not going to be any sort of police, problems come his way, really. It's all going to be one of them things that supposedly happens and then disappears kind of thing. So it feels like not a lot is going to come of that. So I think that he will probably play, and he'll be fine. And he's been involved in sort of like the build up to preseason and all that. And so yeah, I think that's all fine. I just I think it's I kind of agree with everyone else. I think we're all kind of in agreement with this one, where it's just they can be really good, but I don't think it's going to have enough. But,
what if the season goes negatively and it go, Andrew said boom or bust. Let's say it goes bust. What does that look like to you? Do you think? And what do you think the reaction to that is?
Well, bust is not making the playoffs.
You think just not making the playoffs at all is?
I think what we've seen in the past with the way that the Packers organisation has gone and the way that they seem to they operate, that it feels very unlikely that unless they're in a situation where it really is dire, they're not going to make any sort of rash moves. I can't. There's no point in getting rid of LaFleur unless there's going to be someone better, and there very rarely is. That's the thing. So you kind of feel like you want to carry on down the same road. I think the issue isn't so much the coaching. A lot of people obviously always focus on the coaching. I would argue a lot of the problems sometimes can be more what they're doing with like the front office is doing, and what Brian Gutekunst is doing, and things like that. And when it comes to who they pick as draft picks, and when they have them, I mean, they gave up 2 firsts, like, to go and get Parsons. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. That's sort of that isn't the worst idea in the world. But the year before, you used your first on a wide receiver, which we never done, and there wasn't really a need for it. That's the other thing. It wasn't a desperate
And
need
he wasn't
at
a
the
blue chip
time.
wide receiver
No,
either.
exactly. And this is, and I think he'll do okay. I'm not saying he's going to be like useless and do nothing, but he's not like going to be this star wide receiver that you would hope for in the first round. And you just sort of think, sometimes I feel like the moves that are made away from the team when building the team are the issues, and that's more of what the problem is.
I completely echo the sentiment about the coach, though, because there was some people this offseason that were like,
"Oh,
maybe we should
madness,
move on." And
absolute madness.
I think it's mental. I would, I would not move off of him at all.
Hmm.
To the Minnesota Vikings we go. My partner's team, 9-8, third place. Finished last season, missed out on the playoffs. I mean, Kevin O'Connell is back. They have brought in a new quarterback in Kyler Murray. A couple of other moves that have happened as well for the team. Some extensions signed. They also had the draft as well with Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle, going at pick 12 to them. They also picked Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina. Elijah Surratt further down the board, wide receiver from Indiana. I mean, another Justin Jefferson on the team.
Fred,
yeah,
are you reading out the Ravens?
I've got the complete wrong draft.
Reading out the Ravens players here.
I am, yeah. Why am I reading out the Ravens players?
I know they're both playing purple, but that definitely wasn't the players that they bought.
Close enough.
Well, I've got that completely wrong. So let me have a little look at that. I mean,
they definitely drafted Adam's favorite player.
The blooper reel started already. This is great.
Tell me about it. They took Caleb Banks at the 18th pick, round 1. They took Jake Golday, linebacker out of Cincinnati, with the 51st pick. Dominique Orange and Caleb Tiernan, both trenches players, in the 3rd, as well as Jacob Thomas, the safety out of Miami. So yeah, a bit of a howler. I said we'd maybe be a little bit slow off the blocks, I suppose, to start this season off. But it's going to be the conversation has obviously turned towards the quarterback this offseason because of Kyler Murray coming in. And there has been some onus on that. And they've made a couple of moves. You know, there's some moves there that have been pretty all right. But they've not done loads and loads this offseason, the Minnesota Vikings. We know they're a good team. They've got some stars, Justin Jefferson being one of them, obviously. This team needs some work, doesn't it?
I mean, last year at this point, when we were talking about them, we said this was one of the best rosters in the NFL, and the moves that they made, they filled the holes that they needed, and we were really happy with it. It was just, was JJ McCarthy any good or not? Turns out he's not, which makes me happy that I was right about him. But I don't know. This year, I'm sitting looking at it in the same way. I think the roster hasn't changed loads, so I should be saying, you know, this is still a very, very, very strong roster. Which, when I listen to other people talk about it, because I'm so conflicted with the Vikings this year. When I hear other people talk about them, they're talking about them in a bracket of them qualifying for the playoffs, and I'm going, when I'm picking my winners of each week and each match, I've mainly got them losing because I saw how bad they were with bad quarterback play. And I'm not sure whether Kyler Murray is the Kyler Murray of old, and whether it's just going to be still average quarterback play. So I'm conflicted with them. I think it's a good roster. They got some really talented players. The wide receiving core, the O-line's very, very good. The defense is good. It's all on what can they get out of one of these quarterbacks, of whether they're a 5-6 win team or whether they're a 10-11 win team for me. I think that's where I'm at with it. I'm so conflicted with it because people are telling me don't sleep on the Vikings. They're going to be great. I'm like, what? Like, I'm not there yet with them. So, Adam, what's your thoughts?
I feel like they have got 7 and 10 written all over them. The offense, I got no problem with at all, apart from the quarterback. I think the offense is solid. They brought Jawan Jennings in as your third wide receiver, which I think is a great move to have as your third wide receiver. The O-line, as you said, has been solid. The run game, it's not fantastic. Aaron Jones is getting older. Jordan Mason isn't amazing, but it's functional, and it kind of works, so it's okay. I don't know what we're getting with Kyler Murray. I don't think it's going to be anything fantastic. JJ McCarthy, I think
do we think it's a guarantee?
Andrew's seen enough. Let's put it that way.
Oh, do you think it's a guarantee that it's a Kyler Murray start? Because teams like to back the player that they've drafted. So is it JJ's team until he's not good enough and they give it to Kyler Murray? Or is it Kyler Murray's team and JJ is the backup?
I think that they're in such a mess with their quarterback position now that I think it basically ends up being whoever they think has the best training camp. And they just go.
And I think that'll be Kyler.
I think he probably will. Yeah.
And also, well, with this recency bias of Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, there might be a little bit of a we can regenerate. Look what Sam Darnold was. And he was not nobody, but he was nothing when he got to us. He was a backup court. He gone from being the face of a franchise to a second backup almost on some teams. And we molded him to this player who then went on and won the Super Bowl. Like, did they think they can get the same thing? Like they can get Kyler on a cheap and then do the same thing and get this guy that can carry them to 12 wins.
In theory, that should happen. Yeah. If you think about it, that does make sense in theory. So it's like they should do better with him than what he did at Arizona because they are just a better, the coaching staff is better. But I don't know. I just don't know if he's going to be able to see over the O-line. That's the problem.
Well, the only element that's going to change for him is that he's going to a way colder state, but they play indoor anyway. So exactly. That doesn't even matter.
One thing I would say, I don't necessarily agree on the defense. I think they have lost quite a lot. Jonathan Allen has gone, Jonathan Grenard has gone, Harrison Smith has gone. That's 3 big veteran parts of that defense that's gone. I understand that they've brought in guys. Like Jake Golday, think it'd be really good for them at linebacker. Like Caleb Banks, I think could be good, and also Orange as well could be good. But they're not them 3. That's a lot to lose on the defense. So I think that's where the problem might come for them, and that might push them down a little bit more than maybe what some people are thinking. I think they've got talent on that team, but they feel very 7 and 10 to me.
If they have a successful season, or at least have a successful season on the defensive side, do you think Brian Flores then becomes primetime candidate for a head coaching role next season? Because he's already been in the conversation already. And, and if they do have a poor year this year, do I start looking at Kevin O'Connell a little bit?
It's really harsh to say that Kevin O'Connell's the problem, like the Mike Shanahan when Kyle Shanahan when the 49ers are bad, you're not sacking him, are you? He's a genius. And what they say is O'Connell is tall McVay. So would you give up on tall McVay? No, I don't think he's the problem. He just needs his quarterback that plays his style of football at quarterback, which just hasn't really happened to him. I'm still not sure whether Kyler Murray is his style of quarterback either. I think he could do with someone that's in the pocket, throwing the ball to his wide receivers, not someone's ad-libbing outside the outside the O-line, outside the numbers. So I don't know. I wouldn't get rid of him. I think they'd be crazy to.
I feel like the Vikings are a little bit like the Steelers in respect of they're never bad enough to get themselves a real top quarterback. It's almost like the positions that they find themselves
they
in.
weren't they? They just took McCarthy.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They were never bad enough to get like high enough in order to get that really sort of like top quality quarterback.
They could have been aggressive though. They could have been aggressive and gone and done that.
Yeah, you can go all in and do it.
What were they at when they got him? Was it 6, 7, something like that?
Well, what year was the McCarthy? Who else was in that?
It was the Bo Nix, Caleb
Williams. 3 years ago,
yeah.
Jaden Daniels one, wasn't it? So it's like it would have cost a lot to have got into the. You want to be in the top 3 because what was it? It was Williams, Daniels, May, wasn't it?
It was the 20. Yeah, it was the 20. I'm not mute. It was the 2024 draft. So yeah, it was Williams at 1, Daniels at 2, May at 3, and they were pick
12,
10
or 11. Oh,
10.
10.
They took McCarthy over Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And that was, and also as well, we've got to remember there was that caveat with Penix going to Atlanta at 8, but no one saw him. So maybe they were.
I did.
Say again?
I won money on that bet. So,
well, yeah, but no, like that was pretty spectacular at the time, and maybe they thought that Penix was going to drop to them, and yeah, okay, then looked at Bo, but then would Bo Nix have worked?
I would have. I think with
probably
with McConnell Bo Nix fits.
Yeah. I to go back to my point with the question that I posed to you two, and I do have bias because I have interviewed him twice, and I'm very privileged to have done that. He is so knowledgeable. Like, I know there's loads of knowledgeable guys in this league, and I know they all are there for a reason. Like, these guys are not idiots to be in the positions they're in. But having now interviewed a good handful of head coaches, and sometimes, and not to name names, sometimes it not being so great when you are with him at the podium, and it doesn't feel that great. With him, it you can tell he's just so smart to this game. Like, he's so clever. He's really personable. He's really nice. I mean, it could be. I don't think that personality that we get on the podium that I've experienced on the podium is different to the one that goes in a lot. I really don't feel that way. I think he's very much a heart and sleeve sort of guy. Really cares. And I think he's brilliant. And you made the comparison a second ago about Shanahan in San Francisco. Tall McVay as well. Like, it would be a massive loss for him to go. You didn't really say about Brian Flores though, either of you.
I think Flores is a lifetime coordinator. For me, I think defensive coordinators for me are not prime candidates for head coaching jobs in the future. And I think he's kind of solidified himself as, like Steve Spagnuolo, you are the best of your position. You just earn an absolute shed load of money being the best defensive coordinator or one of the top best defensive coordinators in the league. I think that's my feel with him, but there might be a team that wants to take a punt on him. But I think he's lifetime coordinator. Yeah,
agreed.
Okay. Okay, well, before we move on to our final team, make sure you head over to our friends at Pitch Magazine. In the next edition of Pitch, it is all about the Super Bowl, and there is a Texas thread running throughout as well. They've had an extended look at how and why the Dallas Cowboys became a global super brand. Also, moving house for a part of the magazine charts why billionaire owners have moved to continue franchises across state borders. In issue 17 is now available for you to pre-order. You can get 20% off discount if you use the code FTAG20. So make sure you go to www.pitch-mag.co.uk to go and use our code and to get what is a fantastic publication. Make sure you head over there right away after you finish watching or listening to this episode. Their link to their website is also in our description as well. Last team, Detroit Lions, a team that I keep a lot of eye on because I worked with this guy who is a huge Lions fan. So I keep an eye on lines quite consistently throughout the season, and I really enjoy watching them. Also, I just love Dan Campbell. But 9-8, third place last season, missing the playoffs. I mean, injury ridden was their season last year, wasn't it? It was really injury ridden. They rode some bad luck. They had new coordinators, lost both their coordinators, with one going to New York and one going to Chicago. We all said, well, I say we on this podcast said that it's probably going to take a minute. They probably need to have a little bit of a reset. They brought in, now I got the last one wrong, so you're going to have to tell me if I get this wrong straight away. Omar Cooper, pick 30.
No, they've not got Omar
Cooper. He went to the Jets.
He went to the Jets.
Well, I have just got the complete wrong drafts for the last 2 ones. So evidently my notes
they took Blake Miller in the first round.
Yeah. They're like
the offensive lineman.
Yeah. The kind of offensive lineman that reckons is plug and play straight up right tackle for any NFL team.
Well, it took Derek Moore, the edge, out of Michigan as well as Jimmy Rolder from Michigan as well. So that 2 Michigan guys back to back there. Not loads of picks from the looks of it, but I'm going to say that they're a fair few, I suppose. Derek Moore, the edge, and Jimmy Rolder, the linebacker. I mean, they very much heavily concentrated on defense with four of the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
They were all low down though picks. I think the only player they picked with merit was Blake Miller, wasn't it?
I mean, second pick, they traded up to go and get Derek Moore. They got him at 44. Sorry. So
you're not a fan of Derek Moore?
He's not one of the big names. That's all I'm saying. He's not like one of the key guys that everyone was talking about going into draft season or anything like that. So I think of merit, big name wise.
Well, they have had a little bit of a refresh of the draft. They've gone away. They've got fit. They've got healthy. Both their coordinators have had a year under the belt now. Probably a lot of learning this offseason. Probably a lot of reflecting, knowing Dan Campbell. He's always got a plan. He's that aura, presence, culture guy. I think will it be a little bit of a let's just wash our hands of last season, let's go again and be the Detroit Lions that we know, Adam? Like, is that it's sort of the let's go again?
Yeah, I feel like they're in a much better space going into this year than maybe what they were last year. I think, like you say, having the coordinators for a second year, I think will be is a good move, and I think they'll be able to do more with it. The offense, I think the offense looks good. I think Cade Mays coming in from Carolina to play center, I think is a really good addition to them. Obviously, they lost Graham Glasgow, so I think that's a benefit. Blake Miller, I mean, I wasn't overly sold, I must say, but I think that I think he'll probably be able to do a job for them. So it's not the end of the world. They have brought in. They've sort of tried to bring in a bit of depth, haven't they? They got Scruggs from the Texans, they got Barron from Miami. So it's like it's all about the O-line, trying to sort of like make sure there's plenty there. So I think that they're okay offensively. Defensively, had the most injuries on the defense for the last 2 years in a row. Kind of feels like that can't continue. At some point, they've got to be healthy-ish. But a lot of them are decent. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson, great. They brought in Woonham as well from Carolina, who had a decent season for them. And I think they look all right. They've got the 3rd easiest schedule in the whole NFL. And when you actually look at the projected win totals, I think it actually comes out as though they've got the easiest schedule. So. And the one thing I would say is that their strength of schedule is much, much easier than the rest of their division when you look at it. If you go on Tankathon, the other 3 teams are all kind of in the middle. Detroit are much better off. So 11 games indoors, always good for Jared Goff. Loves playing indoors. I think they're going to be tough to beat this year.
Mm. Yeah, last year was a tale of 2 stories, wasn't it? But 4th in total points offense, 5th in net yards, 3rd in passing yards, middle of the pack in rushing yards. Then total points allowed 22nd, net yards allowed 18, passing yards 20th, rushing yards 4, again middle of the pack actually, but did okay on interceptions. They got 13, which is around the 11th mark within the within last season. Yeah, I think it's back to business for these guys. I think that they're going to be fit, they're going to be healthy, they're an enjoyable team to watch, they're really fun. Yes, they've lost a few, but they just really need to reinforce their defense and try and keep healthy. They've got all the ammunition in the world. They're one of the most exciting offenses to watch, aren't they? Like, they're really fun. It's just trying to keep this defense together and try and shut away some points. And like I said, if the schedule is that easy for them, well, predicted easy for them, you know, like I sort of stated earlier, you know, stated in the NFC North one is that show that there is banana skins out there for every team. But if they can all keep upright, I don't know. Do you think, how long is can you kick the tires on this team before there might be a little bit of movement? Because Goff's not young. Let's remember that. Amon-Ra, I know he's got a new contract. That time will pass eventually. Jahmyr Gibbs are going to have to make decisions on players like that, or I don't think Gibbs has.
No, Gibbs and Bijan are both holding in at the moment. So
yeah,
whichever one gets signed first, the other one's going to become the highest paid running back. So
no, yeah, but it's had a really good run this team, and then the injury bug last year was horrible. Like, what your ceiling from the sounds of it is that it's NFC Championship. Is from their schedule or even Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think. Well, I think they should certainly be looking at winning this division. I think with the schedule they've got, I think winning this division is definitely a possibility. And if they're fit at that point, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I think that there's no reason why they can't go and do that. But a lot of it depends on their fitness, which has just failed them over the last couple of years, especially on that defense, and that's where the problem comes in. But yeah, I mean, if they can stay fit, they're going to be tough to beat.
Share same sentiment, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look top to bottom of that defense, every single name on there is of a high caliber. So yeah, keeping every single one of them, I think it'll be a strong defense this year with those names. And then offensively, they're exciting, which you've reiterated over and over. I don't think Jared Goff's that old either. Is he early 30s, 30, 31, something like that? So you say he's getting on a bit. I think he's still quite young. I think we just think he's old because he's more of a statue quarterback, isn't he? Yeah, he's still got what we could play till 30 prime, 35 years. So I think you've still got 4 years out of Goff, which is a good platform to build around for a 4-year plan to go and to win it all. And they've got a lot of youngsters, really young left tackle, really young wide receiver as a number one, really young running back. So they can still build around them. Aiden Hutchinson's young as well. So they've got the key positions they've got are young. So Goff being 31 isn't a worry for me. I think they can keep this moving and keep the Super Bowl bubble alive for them for the next 4 years for me. So I think this is a strong year for them. I think they bounce back. This is one of the hardest divisions, I think, to actually come out on top of. But for me, in terms of looking at it, I think they are the one I'm more confident of to top it if I was to pick one of the three, let's say. So, yeah.
One negative on the Lions is for fans of the show. They did let go of Roy Lopez.
If you are a fan of the show, then you'll know all about Roy Lopez.
They did let go of Roy Lopez.
You better go find. You don't like NFL if you don't know Roy Lopez.
He has gone back to the Arizona Cardinals.
Has he gone back to Arizona? No way. Why, Roy? Why?
Because he likes the weather, obviously.
Man,
not for the wins, is it? Let's face it.
For people who are new to the show, if you want fantasy football advice, look for Roy Lopez in the third, man. I mean, you've got a steal. You've got an absolute steal there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew,
he's a defensive tackle, but you never know.
I may have been trying to do a red herring maybe there for new viewers, Roy Lopez, yes, is a defensive tackle who we're very fond of.
Quality.
What record you got then, Andrew?
I've got the Detroit Lions topping it with records of, I think they're coming at somewhere between 12 and 14 for me. For them, I think they're going to have the schedule, as you said, is quite friendly for them. I haven't got the Bears that far behind them, sort of anywhere between 11 and 13 for them. I think it's going to be another strong season. I couldn't really move the Packers away from that. I've got to pick their wins based on it all clicking and all working, because until it doesn't, I think they're a great team. So I think they're, again, 11 to 13 wins maybe. And then you've got the Vikings trailer behind, sort of 6 to 7 wins, eight maybe at most, trailing it behind. So I think Lions top it. I can't split the Bears and the Packers, and then the Vikings trailing behind and leading up from the bottom.
That's probably the exact way I would do it. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me. Yes, we're going off of them all being fit and healthy all year, but I could easily see Packers having 8 wins if you don't stay all fit and healthy. Like if you don't stay fit and healthy is what I'm saying. If you do, then it could definitely be up there with that. But it wouldn't shock me if we got to the end of the season and you had 7 or 8 wins and you were like, we've been battered all year, and you've had like the Lions thing from last year, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the Lions will win it fairly comfortably. I have to say, I think they're about, just as long as that defense stays fitter than what it has done. I think the sort of a mixture of the schedule and the team and what they've got is kind of all aligned for this season to do well. So I think they'll win it quite easily. I think the Packers and Bears, as Andrew said, pretty similar, but I will go for the Packers because, obvious reasons. And the Vikings, I just think they're like 7 wins. I think that's kind of what they are. It would not surprise me if you ended up with the Lions, Packers and Bears all in the playoffs, though.
Yeah. I think if you're over, yeah. I think you have to have 11 wins in this sort of side of it, because you've got Rams, Seahawks, even 49ers, Eagles. I think you've got to have a high win total to get into it. But I think all 3 have a good chance of getting through to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, it's been sort of a formality, and that's happened quite a fair few times in the NFC North in the last few seasons, hasn't it? There's some good teams. There's some really, really good teams in that division. It's going to be exciting to watch. Adam, Andrew, thank you very much for joining me on this preview of the NFC North. We have plenty more division previews coming your way. Make sure that you like and subscribe us if you watched us on YouTube, and make sure you give us a follow on all social media platforms, and give us a like as well on any podcast platforms that you've listened on. Make sure you head over to www.pitch-mag.co.uk to get your episode of the Pitch magazine. Use code FTAG20 to get yourself 20% off of that. We have got more divisional previews coming to you throughout this preseason. Lots of fun things going on. We'll see you again very soon, and thank you again for listening or watching.